Breakups with avoidance are not normal breakups at all. Even the very nature of how they end the relationship isn't normal. It's often either a blindsiding discard or a slow fade out into oblivion, where they fade and fade and fade and fade, giving you little to no explanation as to why they're pulling away, and then they disappear altogether. Either way, you are given little to no explanation as to why the relationship has to end. It's unilateral, it's devastating, it's heart-crushing, and you're left with more questions than answers. So why is this person so hard to get over? You've likely gotten over other relationships in the past, other breakups, perhaps even divorces, and you have been A-okay. You've been able to get over those, but for some reason, you're still hooked on that avoidant ex. Well, there are some reasons why. Let's get into it. The first reason, which applies largely to the blindsiding discard, where they give you no advanced warning and they just pull the rug from under your feet and give you no explanation as to why they're ending the relationship, other than vague excuses like, I can't give you what you need, that results in an abrupt oxytocin and dopamine cutoff in your brain. Those are the feel-good hormones that go off in the brain when you're in a relationship with someone. It helps you feel good, and oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It helps you bond to this person. Well, it's abruptly cut off. In a normal breakup, there's a slow wind down period where you see the breakup coming and your brain has time to prepare. In this case, it's an abrupt cutoff, and those feel-good chemicals, those feel-good hormones, hit the same neural receptors as drugs like cocaine and heroin. So now your brain is going through withdrawal, and your subconscious, the unconscious mind, is associating the avoidant ex as the only way to get back to that happy feel-good place. So your brain just longs for them, longs for them, longs for them, because it wants to be happy again. Let's get into the next reason. Another reason why it's so incredibly difficult to get over them is that the human mind likes answers, it likes closure. But they're not giving you any. Only vague excuses like, I can't give you what you need, right person, wrong time, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now, work is just so busy. And the more you press for an answer, the less they're giving you one. Perhaps they even pull back and ghost altogether when you try to get that explanation from them. And maybe, at best, they're telling you, I don't know, I just feel this way. You're getting no closure. You're given no answers. And your mind is constantly searching for an answer, for an explanation, because it doesn't make sense. Just before, they were all into you. They were completely acting as if you were their person, and now it's over and you're given just vague, nonsensical answers? It's not the closure that you want, but it's the closure that you're going to get with the person that struggles with self-reflection when it comes to emotions and their own behaviors, because that's what avoidants do, they avoid. It's a very difficult kind of closure to accept because you have to get it from within, not from them. So it makes it extra hard to get over them because they're not giving you those answers, and it makes it so much easier to blame yourself, which keeps you stuck, keeps you trapped, keeps you hooked on them. Another reason why it's so hard to get over an avoidant is that it's psychologically and scientifically proven that intermittent reinforcement is more addictive than consistent reinforcement. The avoidant, even when they're in the relationship with you, in small, subtle ways can go hot and cold. One day they're blowing up your phone, the next day they're a little distant, shut down, and your subconscious mind detects this. So somebody that gives you, positive praise and attention and affection, but only intermittently, hot and cold, is more psychologically addicting than a person that gives you consistent love, affection, and validation. So your brain gets hooked on this person. It gets hooked on the roller coaster ride. It gets addicted to it. And it can actually form a trauma bond of sorts. The highs are so wonderful, but the lows are terrible, but you keep on chasing the highs. And even when the relationship is going well, your unconscious mind can detect little cues and clues from this person that signal that this person is emotionally unavailable. And if you're a person that is more naturally wired to be anxious, to earn that love and affection, especially if you had an emotionally unavailable parent, this can trigger that anxiety within you and the desire for you to earn the love and the affection from the emotionally unavailable avoidant. So in other words, they can be very addictive, especially for a person that is wired to be more anxious. So how do you get over this person? Well, first, there is no magic switch. There's no magic wand. It's a process. It does take time. Healing doesn't happen overnight. But a first major step in healing is understanding. Doing the research about attachment theory, about avoidant attachment, understanding why this person behaves the way they do, understanding their attachment wounds, their insecurities. Because when you understand it, both emotionally and intellectually, you stop blaming yourself. When you're blaming yourself, it's so hard to get over this person, and you're inadvertently putting them up on a pedestal because you're taking the fall for all of their behaviors that you must have not been good enough to keep them around. Reality is, that's not the case at all. Avoidants, they have a low self-esteem and a lack of self-worth. So they self-sabotage relationships because they feel like they are unlovable. That's why they put up these walls, to protect themselves from getting exposed as unlovable. That's how they perceive themselves to be. The subconscious fear that the avoidant has is, if I let you in, if I lower my walls, you're going to figure out that I'm not good enough, that I'm not lovable, that I'm defective. So they keep emotional distance between themselves and their partner as a way to feel safe. It goes back to their childhood. This is a person that experienced consistent neglect as a child, and they grew up to personalize that, thinking that they must be defective and not lovable. So when you understand this, it does help with the healing. It does help with letting go because you're not blaming yourself. And not blaming yourself is so incredibly important for letting go. Another important step to healing and moving on from this person is to pump the brakes on the rumination. When you're going down memory lane and you're thinking of all the wonderful times you've had together, all the good shared memories, again, you're inadvertently putting this person up on a pedestal. And you're going through that cycle, that loop in your mind over and over and over again. The human mind, it learns in repetition. The more you repeat anything, the more stuck in your brain it becomes. So when you're repeating all these good memories and all these positive thoughts of this person that you feel like you lost, it's going to be what's at the forefront of your mind. And it takes some willpower, it takes some discipline, but every time you ruminate, pump the brakes and remind yourself of who they've also shown themselves to be. The emotionally unavailable person, the person that can be quite selfish, the person that doesn't consider your feelings or needs, the person that showed you no empathy, the person that blindsided you, the person that didn't communicate with you. Remind yourself of that, because if you remind yourself of that consistently, well, guess what? Now you're repeating a different message. And that person is going to be coming down slowly but surely off of that pedestal, which is an important part of healing and letting go. Because now your brain is going to be seeing them in a proper context. Sure, they have good qualities, but they also have some very bad qualities. Selfishness, deep insecurities, unhealed attachment wounds, lack of self-awareness, emotional unavailability, and the list goes on. Because that's part of them too. And understanding that and repeating that into your mind is important, because look at the bigger picture. You're now no longer blaming yourself because you understand, and you're repeating messages that help you let go. Speaking of repetition, it's very important to do and repeat activities that are good for you, meaning stuff that has nothing to do with the avoidant. Work on friendships. Take your energy, pour it into you. Friendships, family, your work, your career. Learn new hobbies. Get better at existing hobbies. Work on your physical fitness. Learn to speak a new language. You can take this time and channel that energy into things that better you, because guess what? You do that and you repeat it, you are sending yourself the subconscious message that you can rely on yourself to take care of yourself. That even when you're hurt, even when you're in pain, you're still going to put energy and time into things that are good for you. And boy, what a powerful message that actually is. Repetition can be your worst enemy if you're telling yourself negative stuff, or it can be your best friend if you're telling yourself positive, uplifting messages through both your words and actions. The avoidant is not an easy person to get over. That's just a reality. Have some patience and empathy with yourself. But you can do it. It takes determination, it takes willpower and follow through and commitment to heal and to put that energy into things that better you. And more than anything, learn your boundaries. Learn to have, hold, and enforce them, because your boundaries, which are your limits, are how you'll prevent yourself from ever going through this again.